Welcome to my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election held on February 25, 2023, and the result announced on March 1, 2023, in which INEC controversially declared Bola Tinubu the winner of the election, and that election is being challenged in the courts. In this video, we're going to look at the response of Tinubu, his final response to the challenge of his election by Peter Obi. And then we're going to look at their final response, whether it is enough to save the presidency of Aswad Bola Tinubu. So let's go. And we'll see the position of Bola Tinubu and his legal team, and why they think they deserve their victory. And then you make your own judgment. But as the headline of this video says, one of the key takeaways from their response is that Peter Obi should be banned from any Rerun election. That if it is to take place, that Peter Obi should be banned. So let us go through the whole stuff and see whether they have a case on that. Now, the legal team of President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima, led by Chief Wole Oladipekun, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, have submitted his final written address against the petition of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, before the presidential election petition courts. In it, Tinubu and Shettima's team explained how Peter Obi woefully failed to discharge the burden of proof binding on him to show that the Independent National Electoral Commission rigged the polls in their client's favor on February 25. Tinubu, through his lawyers, maintained that the petitioners called a total of 13 witnesses against his election victory, alleging their evidence and testimonies were characterized by hearsay and irrelevance that will convince the court to void his election. In the alternative, his legal team said if the election would be cancelled by the court as requested by Obi, then he should be barred from contesting the Rerun, having allegedly violated several electoral laws, including the period he joined the Labour Party from the People's Democratic Party. Recall that on March 1st, 2023, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu announced Tinubu as winner of the polls with 8,794,726 votes, while Atiku Abubakar of the Labour Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party were said to have scored 6,984,520 votes and 6,101,533 votes, respectively. Afterward, Obi and the Labour Party challenged the outcome of the election on March 20th by filing a petition seeking the nullification of the declaration of Bola Tinubu as president-elect, and listed several grounds against the president and INEC. On ground one, the petitioner's legal team, led by Dr. Levi Uzugusan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, alleged that Tinubu should be disqualified from the election over a United States District Court judgment, which forced him to forfeit $460,000 suspected to be proceeds of drug trafficking, adding that Shettima knowingly allowed himself to be nominated advised presidential candidate to Tinubu when he was still a senatorial candidate for the Borno Central constituency. At the time, the APC held its presidential primary election in July 2022. On ground two, they alleged that the election of Tinubu should be declared invalid by reason of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, insisting that they cannot stand because INEC made the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system machine mandatory for the accreditation of voters and real-time uploading of results, but failed to do so on election day, contrary to the electoral umpire's own laws and regulations. On ground three, Obi claimed that Tinubu was not duly elected by majority of the lawful votes cast during the presidential election and did not get 25% of the vote cast in the Federal Capital Territory as required by Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution, which reads, a candidate for an election to the office of the president shall be deemed to have duly elected, where there have been only two candidates for the election. He has the majority of votes cast at the election, and B, he has not less than one quarter of the votes cast at the election in each of at least two-thirds of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. They urged the court to declare the election of Tinubu invalid, seeking the following prayers. One, that it be determined that at the time of the presidential election held on February 25, 2023, Tinubu and Shetima were not qualified to contest the election. That it be determined that all the votes recorded for Tinubu, second respondent in the election, are wasted votes owing to the non-qualification / disqualification of Tinubu and Shetima. That it be determined that Tinubu, having failed to score one quarter of the votes cast at the presidential election in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, was not entitled to be declared and returned as the winner of the presidential election held on 25 February 2023. In the alternative to two above, an order cancelling the election and compelling INEC to conduct a fresh election at which Tinubu, Shetima, and the APC shall not participate. In the alternative to 1, 2, and 3 above, that it may be determined that Tinubu was not duly elected by a majority of the lawful votes cast in the election for the office of the president, and therefore the declaration and return of the second respondent as the winner of the presidential election are unlawful, unconstitutional, and of no effect whatsoever. Before the presidential election petition court adjourned for adoption of the address by parties, Obi had produced several witnesses, including a cloud engineer, INEC presiding officers, cyber security experts, and a professor of mathematics, who claimed that 18,088 polling units results on the INEC result viewing portal IREV were blurred, thereby shortchanging Peter Obi by 2.5 million votes. But Tinubu's team had produced one star witness, Senator Michael Opayemi, to discountenance Obi's submissions of FCT, IREV, and Labour Party membership. Now, this is just like a summary of what had happened since the sitting of the court started. But now let us dive directly into Tinubu's final address, which was written against Peter Obi. So let us see what Tinubu presented through his lawyer, Olanipekun. Then we will now begin to analyze what they said. Okay? Now, before I go further on this, if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. Now, Tinubu's final written address against Obi. In his final written address cited by this channel, dated July 14, Olanipekun took on the evidence of the professor of mathematics. That's the professor of mathematics that Peter Obi brought, citing his terms of reference, which included carrying out data analysis on the election results state by state. Now, when we go through what Olanipekun had to say, then I will bring you, I will now discuss it, and I will show you some other things to counter some of the things Olanipekun talked about. He posited that for the witness to give more consideration to Benue and Rivers State is proof that his evidence lacked foundation and could not have been accurate. On the 18,088 blood pooling unit results he downloaded from IRIF, the lawyer countered the professor, saying he admitted during cross-examination that he never cited the hard copies of forms EC8As in the affected polling units. Now, quote, "Of course, the lack of capacity of this witness, who has no background or learning in law, is obvious. The totality of this analysis demonstrates that even the terms of reference, which is the foundation of which the entire activities are predicated, are crooked and devoid of firmness. In any event, though the witness agreed that it is the image of the form EC8A that is usually uploaded to the IRIF, he surprisingly admitted that he never cited the hard copies. On this account, the purported analysis of the result cannot be taken with any seriousness, as the professor admittedly refused to accord any cognizance to the primary data, being the form EC8A. The learned Sikh argued. End of quote. Olanipeku told the Presidential Election Petition Court that Peter Obi's petition did not talk about ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing, violence, thuggery, vote buying, voters' intimidation, disenfranchisement, interference by the military or the police, and such other electoral vices, adding that the crux of their gross this time around is that while the presidential election was peacefully conducted all over the country, as corroborated by primary witnesses, and the results accurately recorded in the various Form EC8As. Some unidentified results were not uploaded electronically to the INEC election result viewing portal. He added that it was wrong for the petitioners to be hyping the electronic transmission of results when INEC's electoral laws also contemplated manual transfer of votes as option. Furthermore, Tinubu's lawyer argued that the remote contention of the petitioner that his client's election should also be cancelled for not scoring 25% or 1/4 of the votes recorded in the Federal Capital Territory is not backed by any fact known to law. He drew the court's attention to the fact that the United States Electoral College votes are shared according to the respective population of the states, without any preference being allocated to Washington, D.C., which is the state capital. He contended that the FCT question should also be interpreted with Section 299 of the 1999 Constitution, which states that the provisions of this Constitution shall apply to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as if it were one of the states of the Federation. He stated it would be chaotic if the court voiced the majority of votes Tinubu garnered in other states due to his failure to score 25% in FCT. With much respect, any other interpretation different from this will lead to absurdity, chaos, anarchy, and alteration of the very intention of the legislation. Our courts have always adopted the purposeful approach to the interpretation of our Constitution, as exemplified in a host of decisions, including but not limited to Nafi Rufai vs. State 1918, 12 NSCC 291 at 300 to 301, Marwa versus Nyako 2012, ADH Limited versus AT Limited 2006, Awolowo versus Shagari Spura, Abraham Adesanya versus President Federal Republic of Nigeria 1981, AG Abia versus AG Federation 2002, he added. He also maintained that forfeiture of money traced to the bank account of Bola Tinubu was a civil proceeding and the president was not convicted. Furthermore, Olanipekun urged the court to declare that Obi is constitutionally barred from participating in any election in the very unlikely event that the election of 25 February 2023 is voided, as the only candidates constitutional prescribed to contest any subsequent election shall be Tinubu and the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, who scored second by scoring the next majority of votes in the highest number of states, 19 states, to the first petitioner, 16 states, and also coming second by plurality of votes, having scored 6,984,520, far and above first petitioner's 6,101,533 votes. He maintained that Obi's name was not in the Labour Party membership register, tendered as his evidence in court when he contested the poll, adding he was still part of the PDP. But Obi's team had stated in their court processes that he was granted a certificate of waiver by Labour Party to contest the poll. Now, that is basically the end of the petition, of the defense, or the last submission, final submission of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and his legal team towards defending their mandates, their final response to the tribunal on the challenge posed by Peter Obi challenging their election. Now, there are some things we have to look at right now. One of them is the Wale Olanipekun Tinubu, speaking through Wale Olanipekun, was talking about the 18,088 blood pooling unit results, which the professor downloaded, mathematics professor downloaded from IRIF, which the lawyer found to be blood. Now, the Wale Olanipekun, they are not doubting the fact that those were blood. But he was saying that during cross-examination, that the professor said that he never cited the hard copies of the Form EC8A in the affected polling units. But the professor don't need to cite all those ones. His interest was the beavers, was what is in the IRIF, ANEC IRIF. So Olanipekun's position is faulty because the former Senate president, which I will put his video at the end of this video, the former Senate president, Ahmed Lawan, when this issue came up for clarification in the Senate, he said that when there is a dispute between the Form EC8A or result sheet, when there is a dispute between Form EC8A or the result sheets, the one in the IRIF is the authentic result. The one in the IRIF is the authentic report, the authentic result. When there is a dispute. Now there is a dispute between Peter Obi, the result that Peter Obi have, and the result that Tinubu have. Now, who settles the matter? The former Senate president said that when they made this law, it was clear that when there is a dispute between the hard copies that are in possession of polling agents, security agents, and or whatever, and political parties, If there is any dispute between them, the authentic one is the Arif result. Now, if the Arif result is blood, as even Olanipekun confirmed, but his issue is that the professor did not sign the hard copy. He don't need to sign the hard copy. It means that the hard copy now is invalid because the Arif result that ought to authenticate it is blood. So therefore, that 2.5 million votes ought will have to be cancelled from Asiwaju Bola Tinubu because there is a dispute now. And Senate President, who was at the center of the making of this amendment to the law, he said that when there is a dispute between the hard copies, okay, or what is the authentic result, everybody refers to the Arif. Now the Arif is blood. So you cannot accept the disputed ones that are hard copies that are flying around. So it is wrong of him to think that because the professor did not cite the hard copy. You don't need to cite the hard copy because already the hard copies, as far as my understanding of what the Senate President said is concerned, the hard copies from EC8A had been invalidated by the blood Arif copies. Blood Arif copies. So they just like that professor rightly pointed out, and the lawyers of Peter Obi rightly pointed out, it ought to be cancelled. So that 2.5 million votes that Tinubu generated from that blood 18,088 have to be removed from his vote so that he will get his authentic result, which will be 8.7 million votes that INEC allocated to him, subtract 2.5 million votes, and his number will come down to 6.2 million votes. So he got the whole thing wrong as far as I'm concerned. He has admitted, obviously, from what he wrote here in his final listing, he has admitted that it is blood. But the only thing is that he was challenging the prof whether he looked for the hard copies from ECSA. He don't need to look for that one because by that Arif own being blood, it had invalidated the other ones that have the hard copies. That is clear from what the Electoral Act said and from what Ahmed Lawan pointed out, which I will put at the end of this video for you to as the final video that you watch at the end of this analysis of their final response. Okay. Now, when you listen to Ahmed Lawan, you see where he stated it clearly. He said, as far as he's concerned, because the issue was the debate about the electronic transmission of results. He said that all he knows is that Ahmed Lawan said that all he knows is that after the election, you don't know whether you can call it electronic transmission or electronic transfer. That after the election, when the results are tabulated, that the INEC agent will scan it and send it to the Arif, okay? And that all he knows is that when there is a dispute between the results, the hard copy carried by anyone, any dispute among the hard copies carried by any of the agents, the security agents or whatever, you have to refer to the Arif. He said that any dispute, it means that the disputed one that's being carried about, the hard copy, is fake. That the only authentic one is one in the Arif. That settles the matter. That means the result have to be cancelled. Unless they are reinterpreting the Electoral Act different from what the former Senate President, who was at the center of the act, stated that that is what it is. That is what it is. So that aspect has been taken care of. I think I've taken care of that aspect from my own understanding of it. It means that the professor was right. Peter Obi's lawyers were right. Based on what Ahmed Lawan said. That's the hard copies being bandied about, through which Tinubu got 2.5 billion, can't stand scrutiny. Because what can be used to authenticate it is lost, is blood. So it's unauthenticable. I don't know whether that's an English language like that, but it cannot be authenticated. So the hard copy cannot be authenticated. It has to be cancelled. And that's 2.5 million votes, for which Peter Obi claimed that he was cheated of, will be subtracted from Tinubu's votes, and his number will drop down to 6.2 million votes. Now, Oladipekun argued, Tinubu argued through Oladipekun and urged the court to declare that Peter Obi is constitutionally barred from participating in any election in the very unlikely event that the election of February 25, 2023 is voided. He said that the only constitutionally prescribed to contest any subsequent election shall be Tinubu and the candidate who came second by scoring the next majority of the votes in the highest number of states, which he claimed to be 19 states, to the first petitioner, 16 states, and also coming second by plurality of votes, having scored 6,984,520 votes, far and above first petitioner, that's Peter Obi, who scored 6,101,533 votes. Well, now section 134 that is talking about Rerun states that in a default of a candidate duly elected in accordance with subsection 2 of this section, there shall be a second election in accordance with subsection 4 of this section, which the only candidate shall be A, the candidate who scored the highest number of votes at any election held in accordance with subsection 2 of this section, and B, one among the remaining candidates who has a majority of votes in the highest number of states. This is simple English. It seems to learning, but I don't know whether you understand this or not. He said, one among the remaining candidates who has a majority of votes in the highest number of states. He didn't talk about somebody who came second. Talking about who has a majority of votes in the highest number of states. Even Festus Okoye, INEC communication officer or education officer, have explained this thing, that it doesn't mean the person who came second with the majority of votes cast. It is the person who has majority of states. And Peter Obi will have the majority of states. Already, all of them have 12 states. Peter Obi has 11 states plus FCT. Okay? Now, when Rivers and Benue are taken away from Tinubu, Tinubu's number of states will drop to 10 states. And already, independent tabulators like the BBC and Premium Times have calculated that Peter Obi won Rivers State. And Peter Obi himself had presented details in court to show that he won it. He has also presented details in court that he won Benue State. So when you take these two states, Tinubu's number of states will drop down. Even Tinubu's majority of vote will drop down. Tinubu will no longer have up to 12 states. He will no longer have majority of the votes. If the justices in their wisdom agrees with what Lawan said, that the vote, the result in the IRF is what is used to compare what is in the hard copy, and that one is missing, which means you have to cancel it, because you have to cancel those ones outside. So if you remove those 2.5 million votes from Tinubu, there's no way he's going to have a majority of the vote cast. That's my understanding of it. Unless the court did not agree with what Amelawa said that what was the law they made in the Electoral Act. So that's clear. And even in the case of where they have the second person has the same highest number of states, okay? Maybe all of them have 13 states. That is when you now talk about who has majority votes among them. But where we're talking about the majority of states, who have voted in majority of states, meaning that in those states, those are states you won. First also, Koye have explained this thing clearly. Unfortunately, that particular video is not within my reach. I would have added it among the videos that you're going to watch so that you know that it's not true that because Tinubu Atiku came second, he would therefore participate in the election. In any case, this result they are using, the result that INEC is using, that Olanipekun is believing in, cannot stand after due retabulation. Because if this result is authentic, then what's the process of challenging it? It's being challenged because it is not true result. That's what Peter Obi is banking on in challenging it. So you can't therefore use it to determine who is the majority. It is after the Supreme Court, the appeal court first, tabulated it, recalculated the results, that we know who got the majority votes and who is second and who came third. Just as what happened in Imo State. When they tabulated the results, Ihedio has votes, but a lot of his votes were removed. And some votes were added to Uzodinma and Hemat. And that was even a seriously disputed matter. But I think this P2B will be so transparently done. If they do it as the P2B and his people have presented their case, it will be as clear day and night how they achieve, how P2B will move from third position to first position. And it will be transparent. You can see the transparency in this 18,088 blood votes. So when they are removed, you can see it's a transparent process. Nobody can say that there was Ujoro or Ururu in it. So what I'm saying in essence is that Owolo Lanipeku and Tinubu are relying on the disputed result. And that result is not going to be the result that will determine the final judgment. Because if it is so, then there was even no point going to the court in the first place. That's true. That's the truth. And then another issue that came up was that he said that Obi's name is not in the register. Okay, it has already been addressed. He was granted with, and even the appeal court have settled that matter. I don't know why they are bringing up that issue. Okay, but one of the things you can take away from this is that it also reinforces what people are saying, that the possibility of Rerun is there. If Tinubu can put it in his final response, even if he couched it in such a way of saying that in unlikely event, that's what he said, in unlikely event, it means that there is still a possibility of it happening, of a rerun in their own thinking. But I am thinking that in a rerun, I don't think that Tinubu should be able to participate if he is found guilty on the multitude of things, allegations against him, in terms of the forfeiture of $460,000, which even during cross-examination, the witness of Tinubu agreed that it was a proceed of narcotic. So you can't say narcotic is not a civil matter. It's not a civil case. For Olani Begu says it's not a civil case. And the Supreme Court has already explained what forfeiture means in Nigeria. They defined it in 2014 in Mohammed Abacha versus the federal government. So forfeiture cannot be different in 2014 from the forfeiture that Tinubu did in the proceed of narcotic. Okay. The Supreme Court definition of it was clear that it's a crime. If you didn't commit crime, you can't forfeit. It's evidence of criminality for you to forfeit. So it's clear, very clear on that. Then Tinubu and his lawyers, they posited that for the witness to give more consideration to Benue and Rivers, they have to give more consideration to Benue and Rivers as symptomatic of what happened in several parts of the country. Like the result in Lagos, it is Peter Obi is also challenging it because it was alleged that Tinubu's result was padded in Lagos, that he didn't even get off 25%. There is a need to retabulate the result of Lagos, and Peter Obi made a case for that. But Benue and Rivers were his sample. Perhaps Olanikwekwe and Co, they don't understand what sampling means. Peter Obi used Benue and Rivers as a sample. Just like when you are doing a research, you take a sample to give you an indication of the constituents or the characteristics of the whole. So Peter Obi, they are right to pick where they can show this a sample of what characterized the election. That Peter Obi was shortchanged, his results changed, his result undercounted, his result given to another person, which they try to show the evidence in Rivers State and Benue. In the case of Rivers, even in the independent verifiers of result, like the BBC and the Premium Times, have verified and found out that Peter Obi won in Rivers State. And Peter Obi strongly believes, he has presented evidence that he won Benue. The onus is now on Tinubu to prove how he won Benue. And if the court in their wisdom agrees with Peter Obi that he actually won Benue, that will be the Waterloo of Tinubu, because it means that his votes will be retabulated, and that those votes that gave him so-called winning in Benue will be taken away and added to Peter Obi. The same thing will happen in Rivers. And when they retabulate his result in Lagos State, we will now find out whether he even get up to 25% of the vote cast in that state, as being alleged. So that the witness gave more consideration to Benue. They have to give more consideration to Benue. It says it symbolizes, it's a sample that they use to explain the whole, and it's allowed in social research and in fact all kinds of research anyway. So from all indication, it means that their defense, their final response, as far as I'm concerned, is water. I'm waiting for what the response of Peter Obi and his lawyers, but I'm sure that they will pieces this their position and find out that it's not strong enough to sustain their winning. From my understanding of it, they have not been able. Their final response, to me, is not strong enough to sustain the victory that INEC allocated to him. And I want to say also that, as far as I'm concerned, the result being bandied about, through which Tinubu came first, Atiku came second, Peter Obi came third, will not be the relying result that we use in determining who actually came first, second, or third, until the Supreme Court do the tabulation of the result. That is when we will now know, between Tinubu, Atiku, and Peter Obi, who is qualified to participate in a rerun, if there is going to be a rerun, and who actually won this election, who won the majority of votes cast. Because right now, you can see from my analysis, just looking at that Professor of Mathematics downloading of 18,088 blood votes, that a whole lot of damage had been done. to the result that was announced using those blood results in the RF. It means that the result were announced without regard to the benchmark. The result on the INEC RF is the benchmark. It's not there. So whatever you announce there cannot stand, because there is a dispute between the figures that Tinubu have and the figures that Peter Obi have. And who is going to stand as the yardstick to measure is the figure in the RF. Former Senate President Ahmed Lawal say that information, when there's a dispute, the one on the RF is the authentic result. Now the authentic result is not there. What are you talking about? So, and thank you for watching this video, and I'm leaving you with the former Senate President Ahmed Lawal, his explanation on what happens when there is a dispute between the hard copies of the results from EC8A, which is the result sheet, okay, with the agents, security people, and all whatnot, and what is in the INEC RF. When there is a dispute between the hard copies and the digital copy in the RF, which one takes precedent? He said it is the one on the RF. Now, 118,088 blood results were used to announce a winner of an election. How can it stand? Based on the Electoral Act, as passed by the Senate, led by Ahmed Lawal. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like this video, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. God bless you and yours.
There is nothing like electronic transmission, because transmission is when you vote and it goes to the server. What we have passed, and I can recollect this vividly because I read that act when it was a bill several times, is to transfer, after all the paperwork that we normally do are done, the agents and everybody there, security, everybody will have the papers. INEC will snap or scan or snap the result sheet and transmit or transfer or whatever it is. That whether it is transmit or transfer is that thing that is captured with beavers, the results. And for me, my understanding is, if any result that was captured and sent differs from something gotten somewhere, that one is illegal. And only the courts, it's not us here that can do. So we urge INEC to follow the Electoral Act. And for me, my understanding is, if any result that was captured and sent differs from something gotten somewhere, that one is illegal. And only the courts, it's not us here that can do. So we urge INEC to follow the Electoral Act and other laws of